here's where we left off in the last video. I've got my county outlines and state outlines for North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota, and I've got it in a projection that works well. I've also got a layer that just has the 3 state outlines that I actually accidentally created, but I kind of like it, so I'll keep it. So now's a good time to do 2 things. Add some database information that we'd like to see visually, and it probably doesn't hurt to do a little inventory of our file structure that we're working with. So this is all of my GIS data. One thing I noticed just by looking at this, I've got these files that I meant to put inside of this folder here, the NDSDMN, but when I created that one shapefile, it put it and its related files just kind of out here in the open. I don't want that. So 2 things. I'll go ahead and close this, and it's a good time to save. So just smart digital file management. I'll put these into that folder like I intended. So now I've got a nice clean organization of my data. But if I try to open that file again, because it just links or just points to a connection, it's going to try to look where that file or that information was, not where it is. So that's why this little exclamation point shows up. If you ever do see that after you've moved some files, just click on it a couple times and you'll be asked to reconnect. And all it needs is that shape file. Let add. There we go. So now we're back in business. If I go back to the nationalatlas.gov website, there was one in here that looked kind of interesting. It was this wildlife mortality frequency data. And on any one of these, you can click on the first link and it'll take you to some metadata. It's not always the most up-to-date, and I'll show you why. For example, this is saying it's a 25-year collection of instances of avian mortality. So in other words, they were finding dead birds and then they take them to a lab and find out that it had either botulism, cholera, or lead poisoning, or this big long one here. So anyway, let's go back, and the reason I say that that's not the most up-to-date is because I'll show you when we look at the text file that is a part of this download. So I just clicked on this link here to download the database. I will go to my downloads and use 7-zip a couple times, so I'll try to do this a little bit quicker than before. I'll put it in a folder called Avian Mortality. Now, if I take a look at that download, whoops, did something wrong. Right click, copy to. So much for doing it quicker than normal. Okay and okay. So there I've got my database and my text file. So if I open this text file, it's not as pretty, but it's the same information and then some that was on the website, the rendered website. And from here I can see it's actually over 30 years. So this was published in 2005, and 30 years would mean it's since 1975. All right, let's go ahead and link this and see what we can do with it. So to link any database, for one, make sure that they're linkable, and we just know that these are. I'll right click on that layer, go to joins and relates, and I'll go ahead and say I want to join these on this FIPS, which is the Federal Information Processing Standard. I'll click my little folder here and browse to that database, and I'm matching it up to FIPS, which is also inside of that. The other default settings are good. I'll go ahead and do OK. You'll be prompted about indexing. Just go ahead and hit yes. So the database is linked or joined, but we won't see anything until we actually classify that information. And if I do a right click, open the attributes table, I can in fact see that there's a bunch more information. And in the end here I've got these 4 columns for botula, cholera, lead poisoning, and that one. Let's close this. So right away we can go to that layer properties and start playing with the symbology, and I'd recommend, just as a start, as you're figuring out what this stuff is good for, go ahead and just select one of those. So I'll do the botulism. I need to click add all values, and then I can hit apply. And I can see that counties where they found a dead bird are colored. And that color relates to a number that was found, I believe. So in counties with this color, there was 19 instances over the last 30 years of botulism, bird botulism. It's apparently a bad thing. So we could try the other ones. Add all values, apply. So these are good, but unless you want to make 4 separate maps, there's a couple different ways to display this. And I'll show you a quick example. One which just categorizes all of the instances of avian mortality, and another which creates a little pie chart so we can see which of these 4 really bad epidemics it's related to. So before we can do that, we're going to create a new column or a new attribute. I'll go to the attribute table, and it's okay that you can just leave that classified or categorized, however, for now. And this is actually too many to worry about, so I'll do 2 things. First, I will go to my properties, I'll go to my fields, I'll turn everything off, and we'll just look at state, county, and then these 4 guys down here, and call that good for now. So hit apply. That just makes my attribute table a little bit nicer to look at. So what I would like to have is one of these columns that just adds up, so I can quickly look at any county and know exactly how many instances of avian mortality were discovered from it. So I can do that, I think, from right here. Add field. We'll call this, and you're going to find out that if these are really long, I'll just add a word there. Short integer is fine for this. You'll be prompted saying it's too long, and it'll just shorten it to something, so that works. Now we need to add a condition to this, and we can right click and select field calculator to do that. So I'm basically saying I want that value to be this plus this plus next one plus the last one. Hit OK, and it thinks for a moment. There we go. And if I sort this, you can see that Kidder County, apparently not a very good place to be if you're a bird. Let's go ahead and close that, and let's reclassify this map showing just the total count. So I'm back under Symbology. I'll go to Quantities and pick a color ramp that looks good for whatever you're working with. So fruity colors probably aren't the best thing to show avian mortality. I'll use this whatever, this one looks good. And for the value, I'll keep this on graduated color, and I'll go to NDSDMN total mortality. That's the column I just created. And 5 columns looks fine. I'll hit apply and see what that looks like. But one problem is it's wrapping the 0 and 1 into one category, and we want all of our zeros to be nothing. So I'll just go ahead and change that first one to 0. It'll adjust the rest of these accordingly, and you can manually change each one. Now for its symbol, I'm going to click that, set it to hollow, and I'll actually put the outline color to none as well. So basically, if there's no instances, I just don't want that to even show up visually. So let's hit apply, and now I can see my colored counties representing or corresponding to an amount, as well as my temp bordered outline below. So that looks good. Let's keep that. I'll hit OK. Maybe change that color to something like yellow. There we go. So now I'll go to my layout view, and it's pretty much a matter of adding a table before we get our comparison map. So I'll do an insert, legend. That's the information I'd like to make a legend of. We'll call this or whatever you'd like, I guess. Now, I kind of don't like to spend a lot of time with this, and I'll show you why. because once this is placed, it's sometimes easier to just turn it into a graphic and edit it that way. So I will go to Convert to Graphics, right-click again, ungroup. Now I'll just quickly grab these and hit delete on my keyboard. Whoops, I don't know how that one got in there, but we don't want that one either. So anyway, I don't want to do a whole lesson here on composition and graphic layout. I'll leave that up to you guys. You're all designers, most of you, so you should be able to make this look pretty. And I'd probably say, you know, instances of avian mortality between the years of 1975 and 2005. All right, so the other map, which I mentioned, we want to create little pie charts to show percentages of which one of those 4 diseases these numbers correspond to. So a nice way is I'll just click on this data frame here. And you know what, before I do that, I don't like that border, so let me get rid of that. Right-click Properties, Data Frame. Oh, frame is what I want, not data frame. And let's say none apply. This will just save me save me having to do this twice. So there we go. So now I'll hold down Control, drag this down, and I've magically got another data set to work with. It links to the same stuff. We'll just color it differently. So first thing, let's right-click on that layer. I will go to Properties. Now this time I'll go to Charts, and I can do pie, bar, column, or stacked, but I want to show it between these 4 here. I'll add those, and as before, let's get something that looks a little bit interesting. You want to be careful about this because, you know, those colors don't connect to the same thing, so I want to make them different enough than my previous map. Alright, let's see what this looks like. So I hit apply. Whoa, it's kind of a mess. All of my pie charts are all over the place. So I'll change the size here. We'll just make these. Keep in mind this is an 11 by 17 inch sheet of paper. Oh, I'm sorry, 8.5 by 11. So let's try 9, see how that looks. Ah, a little bit better. So let's go and close this, zoom in. Alright, looks good. There's a couple of floating things here. I'm not sure what that is about. You know what? Let's see if we can fix that. I don't like those lines, so going back to my properties, I think it's under this, prevent chart overlap. There we go. Might get some overlapping charts, but that's fine. Close that. Let's zoom out a little bit. And I'll add another legend. So this time, oh yeah, that's why that temp showed up. I'll just get rid of that. I only want this under the legend items. And I'll call this one, well, I'm going to come back and fix it later because I don't know what to call it right now. Just snap through this. There's my chart. So as before, I'll turn that into graphics, ungroup it. Now I should be able to, oh, I probably got to ungroup those again. And now I can change these accordingly. Oh, got to ungroup it. You get the idea. I won't do the rest, but you know, you probably want to change your legend to, can I make this one bigger? Yeah, I can. Nice. So, you know, just make it look pretty. We've got a nice map. Probably need to add a little bit more text information for this to all make sense. But when you're ready to export it, you simply go to File, Export Map, select PDF, click on Advanced, and make sure that Export Map Georeference information is selected. So hit Save, and there you go. That's the assignment.